Namaste, everybody, and welcome to today's program on Yoga Nidra and its relationship to your well-being. And today we'll be discovering and exploring some of the classical concepts of Yoga Nidra. And I believe that this will help you to support your well-being and also give you a broader idea of just the value of this amazing technique. Many of you have probably heard of Yoga Nidra. This is why you're tuning in. And Yoga Nidra has become very, very popular over the last maybe 10 years, and the wave has been building. It's becoming more and more popular. Today, what I hope to do is to help you to develop a deeper understanding of this classical practice. So let me just begin by saying that Yoga Nidra has been an important part of my own journey. I began to practice Yoga Nidra in 1987. In 1987, I was crippled with an autoimmune type disease. It was related to Lyme disease. It crippled my body and left me bedridden. Yoga Nidra played an essential role in my healing. And since that time, I have been practicing it and also later on teaching it. In fact, one of the consequences of my illness was that I was unable to sleep. It affected the biorhythms of my body. And as a result, I truly did not sleep much for 7 years, maybe more than an hour or two each night. And I relied upon the deep rest that Yoga Nidra provides for my own well-being. I relied upon it just to survive. But more than that, I relied upon it to heal myself. And we're going to talk about that a little bit as well today. I practiced Yoga Nidra for 3 hours a day. 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon, and 1 hour in the evening for 7 years, from 1987 till 1994. And it was during that time period that it made such a profound difference in my health and my well-being. After that period of time, I continued to practice it as needed for any challenges that came up in my well-being. I also practice it just as a regular practice for awareness and for deep rest. So it's a beautiful practice, and I hope to be able to share some of that with you today. Now, I want to begin by defining Yoga Nidra. Many of you probably think that Yoga Nidra is a system of deep relaxation. It is so much more than that. Many people are using it today for relaxation, but that's not really what it was intended to be. Yoga Nidra means deep sleep. Yoga is the union that we experience in our practices of yoga with the divine. Yoga meaning the divine connectedness, and Nidra, sleep. So in a state of sleep, in Yoga Nidra, we have awareness. We have a divine awareness. We have a divine connectedness. Now, it's different than sleep. Sleep is Nidra. Many people today are calling Yoga Nidra Nidra. It's not Nidra, it's Yoga Nidra. And the difference is that Nidra is sleep. Regular, ordinary sleep where you're unconscious, where you're unaware. Yoga Nidra is a state of deep relaxation where you are aware. It's a state of conscious, deep relaxation. And we're going to see that it's that state of consciousness that is so essential for bringing about your well-being. Now, just a little correction, because I'm talking live, I made the mistake to say that Yoga Nidra at the beginning is deep sleep. It's not deep sleep. Deep sleep is a state of sleep. It is a deep state of awareness while you are asleep. And so it is different than regular or ordinary sleep. Now, I'll be talking today for about 20 minutes, and then I'll be taking your questions. Those questions come along for you, write them down, or type them in, actually. Type in your questions. And my assistant, Jeanette, is going to be writing them down for me and bringing them to me. So that anything you'd like to know about Yoga Nidra, you'll be able to have your questions asked today as well. Those of you that are still signing in, Janelle, Paula, Cassia, welcome to today's program. Now, let me just begin maybe going a little bit deeper to say, where does this knowledge come from? You know, we've only been hearing about it here in the West in popular culture for the last 10 years. But this practice is thousands of years old. Yoga Nidra is truly a classical practice. And the tradition has its origins in a mythological story that is told in the Puranas. The Puranas is a set of classical texts that are storytelling texts. And these texts tell the story of Lord Vishnu and how he goes about creating the world around him. Now, today I don't have the time to tell you the entire mythological story, and also to break down the symbolism within that story. We do that in our Yoga Nidra teacher training. But it is a classical story of creation, and it's how Lord Vishnu creates all of existence while essentially looking as though he is asleep. He's actually laying on a great serpent on the water, and out of his belly button is a lotus flower, and sitting on the lotus flower is Lord Brahma. At his feet, he is being massaged by Lakshmi, and all of this has deep symbolism, and we're going to go into that in great detail during the courses. But this story is all about how he dreams essentially creation, and that creation is his dream. So you and I and the trees and the wind and all of the cosmos are part of his dream. The summary of the symbolism of all of that is that each of us actually creates our own experience of reality. We create what is real for ourselves. We dream our lives, and we are dreaming our lives unconsciously, usually. And in the state of Yoga Nidra, we can take control over the dream of our lives and have our lives look the way that we want them to be. In other words, you can dream the life that you want to live, and you can live the life of your dreams. But you have to know how to do it. You have to know how to do it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful practice. And that's what Yoga Nidra truly is. It is more than relaxation. In fact, Yoga Nidra is a state of consciousness. It's a state of consciousness. It is a different state of consciousness than being awake, your ordinary way of dreaming when you're asleep, or even deep sleep. It is a different state of consciousness. And maybe I'll have some time to talk a little bit more about it. But it's in the Puranas that these stories are told. It's also mentioned in other classical texts. So for instance, in yoga, Yoga Nidra is mentioned in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. And in the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, it's mentioned as an alternate, as another state of consciousness, and you get into it through certain mudras and yoga asanas. In another text by Sri Shankaracharya, the founder of Advaita Vedanta, called Yoga Nidra, there is a beautiful description that I want to read to you to tell you what Yoga Nidra is, so that you understand that what you're learning today about Yoga Nidra is not what I have to tell you about Yoga Nidra. I could share with you my experiences, and during the classes I do. But what I really want you to understand is that Yoga Nidra is not something that any of us have created here in the 21st century or even in the 20th century. It is an ancient practice. And in Yoga Nidra from Sri Shankaracharya, he says this. He says, when the mind has transcended Maya, when ego has become static, when senses are no longer functioning, and when all communication of the mind and the senses have been cut, when you and I no longer exist for a period of time, Yoga Nidra starts. Wow. Well, we can spend all day just talking about that paragraph right there that I just read you from this ancient text, Yoga Nidra, about what Yoga Nidra is. It is such a deep alternative state of consciousness. And so Yoga Nidra begins when the ego becomes static. Yoga Nidra begins when we have transcended Maya. Yoga Nidra is not just laying down and relaxing your body. Yoga Nidra is an alternate state of consciousness, which once you master, you also begin to master the experience of life that you have. And that's why Yoga Nidra can be used for healing. Now, there's healing that comes from relaxation just in and of itself. And yes, Yoga Nidra is an incredible state of relaxation, but it is so much more than that. And you can begin to establish what is called the sankalpa, And sankalpa is not simply a wish. It is not even really an intention. Sankalpa is how you project reality into the world. And when you are in the state of Yoga Nidra and you work with your sankalpa, you are projecting reality into the world. And the physical elements shape themselves, mold themselves to match your sankalpa. And this is Yoga Nidra. This is Yoga Nidra. You see a lot out there today about Yoga Nidra and sleep. That yoga, you sometimes even see recordings out there in the marketplace. Yoga Nidra for deep sleep or Yoga Nidra for sleep. Anyone who puts that out simply does not know what Yoga Nidra is. Because if you are sleeping, you are not in Yoga Nidra. If you are sleeping, you cannot practice Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is a state of awareness, conscious awareness in an incredibly deep state of relaxation. It wasn't even always attained through laying down. Today, it's very popular to use techniques of progressive relaxation, bringing your awareness through different parts of your body and relaxing them to get into the state of Yoga Nidra. We'll say more about that in a moment. It's very common to do that today, and that's also a technique that I use and that I learned in my practice in the 1980s and teach today. But Yoga Nidra has also been entered into by yogis in many, many other techniques. So Yoga Nidra is also not a technique. There is not one way to get into Yoga Nidra. There is not my recording of Yoga Nidra and it's the form of Yoga Nidra. No. And there's many other recordings that are out there, some from very excellent teachers and some that don't represent Yoga Nidra at all, the true Yoga Nidra. You have to be very careful in selecting your Yoga Nidra practice. Now, when you truly practice Yoga Nidra, when you go into that state and you remain awake, then you are able to manage the elements, create your reality, create your healing. There's a great teacher during our classes that we will spend a lot of time talking about, Bhagavan Sridhar Narayan Mahaprabhuji, a master of Yoga Nidra who lived in the 1800s. He lived he actually lived in the 1900s too. Supposedly, the records say that he lived from 1828 to 1963. If you do the math in your head, that's 135 years. He lived in Rajasthan and he was a master of Yoga Nidra. And during our classes, we take a look at his writings and his teachings on Yoga Nidra to gain a deeper understanding of what this practice truly is. I want to read to you another quote from another teacher of Yoga Nidra. This is Swami Karmananda, who is was a disciple of Swami Satyananda. Swami Satyananda from the Bihar School of Yoga, another one of the great teachers of Yoga Nidra. And during our course, by the way, we're going to take a look at all the different teachings of Yoga Nidra, many of them that are being done today, contemporary, but also the traditional practices or ancient practices from a wide variety of well-known teachers. So we'll take a look also at the Satyananda approach to Yoga Nidra. And he goes on to say that Yoga Nidra is a revitalizing exercise. Yeah, you feel great when you do Yoga Nidra. It returns you to a deep state of yourself. It gives total rest to the mind, the brain, the nervous system, the senses, and the body. And then he says, except through meditation and Yoga Nidra, one cannot give rest to the totality of the mind, Because in Yoga Nidra, you are resting not only your waking mind, but your subconscious mind as well. And normally your subconscious mind is very, very busy, even when your ordinary mind is resting. You see that, of course, when you sleep, in your dreams. But you even see it when you're relaxing in everyday life. You're just, let's just say you sit down, you rest on a hammock, or you go for a walk. The mind is active. And even if you're able to turn it off watching the sunset, the subconscious mind is still active. It's working, it's processing. In the state of Yoga Nidra, you go beyond the ordinary mind, and you even go beyond your subconscious mind. And that is Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is also a science. Well, I mean, it is a science, but we can use modern science to understand it a little bit better. And there is a lot of research going on in the field of Yoga Nidra. People are researching brainwave patterns, but more than that, they're using PET scans to see what parts of the brain are active in Yoga Nidra. And even more than that, they're actually doing experimental studies, placebo-controlled studies, taking a look, or actually not placebo-controlled, but they're taking a look at experimental studies, quasi-experimental studies that are looking at groups of students or people doing Yoga Nidra and comparing it to a control population and seeing, for instance, what effect it has on blood sugar levels. And what they're finding is that groups that do Yoga Nidra and maybe take their medicine, and they compare it to groups that only take their medicine, the groups that do Yoga Nidra and take their medicine have better control over their blood sugar levels. They're also studying and doing human trials on Yoga Nidra with a wide variety of problems that occur with the hormones in the body, with menstrual discomforts, with pain in the body, with cancer. So many different studies that are being done, and they're showing great results. They're showing very, very good results. In fact, so much so that every patient that I see, every patient that we see here at the California College of Ayurveda in our clinic, at some time or another is usually introduced to Yoga Nidra as a practice. Because no matter what you have going on with you, the practice of Yoga Nidra will support your healing process. Many of you know that I put out a CD called Yoga Nidra and Self-Healing. And it's to use Yoga Nidra to create healing in your body. Not only through deep rest, but taking it a step further and identifying the subtle channels of the body, the nadi, and being able to normalize the flow of prana to the subtle tissues of your body. And taking it a step further still and using your sankalpa in the state of Yoga Nidra to see yourself well and to activate the elements to become well. So this is what you learn during Yoga Nidra. Now you can learn Yoga Nidra many ways. You can buy a recording of Yoga Nidra. You can go on YouTube and you can watch me or someone else lead you through Yoga Nidra. It's all wonderful. It's great to be guided through Yoga Nidra. And I recommend that everybody be guided through the practice for at least the first year. After the first year, you don't even need a recording for Yoga Nidra. Remember, Yoga Nidra is not the recording, it's the state of consciousness. Once you have become adept at getting into that state of consciousness, you don't need a recording at all. You just need to lay down or meditate in a comfortable position, and you can enter into the state of Yoga Nidra. You can bring yourself with your awareness to different body parts and you can examine them. And then you are even freed up from the constraints of a teacher, and you can spend as much time as you'd like in any part of your body working with that part of your body and being able to heal yourself. In Yoga Nidra, I was talking a bit about the science of it. In the brainwave patterns, it's kind of interesting to see what happens. There is an increase in for those of you that understand the brainwave patterns, there's 4 basic brainwave patterns, beta, alpha, theta, and delta, and they take you deeper and deeper and deeper into usually a state of rest. And at the state of delta, you're in deep sleep. When you're awake, you usually have beta. Right now, you're listening to me, and so your mind has a preponderance of beta waves in there, which means you're awake and you're aware. And when you sleep, you're in theta, and when you're in deep sleep, or when you dream, you're in theta, and when you're in deep sleep, you're in delta. Well, when you do Yoga Nidra, You enter into a state of alpha, which is kind of between the beta and the theta. And there's also an increase in theta too. But the interesting part about that is you're awake, and yet the brain pattern has shifted. And so you have more alpha and you have more theta. And some studies are showing that some individuals go into an entirely different state of brainwave awareness, and that is gamma, which is an ultra state of awareness. It is a very, very, very fast state of brainwave patterns that is believed to be related to the unified field. And so perhaps connecting with that which is eternal. Now, what is really interesting about the brainwave patterns that they've shown, that when you do these practices, and meditation is similar in this way, but when you do these practices regularly, your brain changes even when you're not meditating. Your brain changes even when you're not doing Yoga Nidra. In other words, you do your practice and you feel great, and you have an alternate state of consciousness, more connectedness, more relaxation, your heart is more open. You're more you when you open your eyes. When you do this regularly, here's the amazing thing. The brainwave pattern shifts even during the day when you're walking around. You're walking around with more relaxation. You're walking around with more ease. You're walking around with a more open heart, with more compassion. And so when you do this practice on a regular basis, it is a form of therapy that transforms who you are. It transforms you from who you are today to who you want to become. And isn't that what Yoga Nidra is all about? Yoga Nidra is about creating yourself. It's about mastering this reality. It's about mastering the world. Meditation is about transcending the world. Yoga Nidra is about mastering the world. It's about mastering creation, because you create your own experience of the world. That's Yoga Nidra. That is what it means to really heal physically, to heal emotionally, and even to heal spiritually. And by that I mean to become more and more aware. Once you have reached that state of Yoga Nidra, and you're still in your state of Yoga Nidra and you're practicing, then you can take the next step. At the end of Yoga Nidra practice, it's very important to let go of your sankalpa. It's very important to let go of any technique and just enter into the void of pure awareness. In that state, you go beyond mastery of creation into this formless state of oneness and unity. And this is how Yoga Nidra practice ends. If you listen to the CD that I prepared called Yoga Nidra and Self-Healing, then it'll take you through each of these stages of Yoga Nidra. You'll start with deep relaxation to get into the state of Yoga Nidra. Then in the state of Yoga Nidra, that's when you establish your sankalpa. And then you let go of your sankalpa and you enter into the formless state, the formless realm of pure awareness. Now, I want to take some time to answer some of your questions. And Jeanette has brought them to me. And then I'll let you know about some upcoming workshops and trainings if you would like to participate. So, first of all, the first question that came to me is, by practicing Yoga Nidra, would sleeping only 4 or 5 hours be enough? Well, you know, it has been said that 1 hour of Yoga Nidra is the equivalent of 3 hours of deep sleep. Many teachers have said this. I certainly found that by doing Yoga Nidra, I was able to rejuvenate my body as well. So if you're practicing Yoga Nidra for an hour and you're sleeping 4 or 5 hours, yeah, I think that's probably enough for most people. I do. Sometimes it depends upon the kind of work you do and the lifestyle you lead. If you lead an exhausting lifestyle, you may need more sleep and Yoga Nidra, or more Yoga Nidra. You can still sleep 4 or 5 hours, but you might need to do Yoga Nidra twice if you have an exhausting lifestyle. And an exhausting way of life, and by that I mean people who drink and people who are putting a lot of stress on their bodies, people who do physical labor, they too may need more rest. So 4 or 5 hours, probably enough for the ordinary person, the average person, and an hour of Yoga Nidra a day. All right. Another person says, I'd like to use this practice during labor. Well, you know what? It's wonderful to use this practice during labor to relax yourself so that you're reducing pain and discomfort in labor. I've had dental work done, and I've gone into the state of Yoga Nidra so that I don't need to use any kind of anesthesia. So you can reduce pain tremendously. The teacher taught me a long time ago. Even before I knew Yoga Nidra, I was starting to get involved in some of these deep relaxation practices, and it was about 1980. And this teacher said to me, you know, Mark, you can't simultaneously be relaxed and experience pain. And I have found that to be true. So if you can deeply relax, you can reduce pain. But the real time to do Yoga Nidra, if you're pregnant and getting ready for delivery, is before you deliver, in the weeks leading up to it. Do Yoga Nidra every day. And in your Sankalpa, see yourself having an easy delivery. See yourself being in comfort. See the baby being healthy, and create that reality with your Sankalpa. And that is going to go a long way to preparing you. And think of it as preparing the whole energetic world stage for the delivery of your baby. And that's how I would approach Yoga Nidra if you are pregnant. But you could certainly do the deep relaxation components of it during Yoga Nidra, during labor. You're probably not going to have the mental wherewithal to be doing a Sankalpa during it. But if you do, and you're in labor, by all means, see an easy delivery, see your baby come through the birth canal with ease. And the next question is, I have found that when in a subtle state, as soon as I realize that I am there, I fall out of it. How does one remain in the Yoga Nidra state of awareness? That's a really interesting question. You know, Yoga Nidra state of awareness, I describe it a lot of times as the edge, the place or the edge of consciousness in the mind, because you're not yet in the state of Yoga Nidra entirely in a state of where the mind has been dissolved. There's this edge, and that's the part where you're using your Sankalpa. It's a part where you're the witness and you are aware that you are witnessing your experience. All right. Now, to come back to your question, how does one remain in the state of Yoga Nidra? I have found that once you're really in that state of Yoga Nidra, that it's helpful to just be the witness of whatever you experience. So if you experience the mind become active, be the witness that the mind has become active. And don't attach yourself to whatever thoughts have moved through your mind. If you do that, you will return to the state of Yoga Nidra, because the state of Yoga Nidra is a witness state. You can witness whatever is happening, the mind, you can witness the body twitching, you can witness what's happening, but not get attached to it. Once you get attached to it, that's when you really come out of the state of Yoga Nidra. So I hope that's helpful to you. Be the witness, even that the mind has become active, and then by being the witness, you return right to the state of Yoga Nidra. Another question, what is the historical context of the practice of Yoga Nidra? Where did it come from? Well, I started at the beginning of the program. You might have come in a little bit later, but I started at the beginning of the program saying that this is a practice that goes all the way back to the Puranas. The Puranas are a set of 18 classical textbooks, storytelling books that communicate the knowledge of the Vedas in storytelling form. And the Yoga Nidra is part of the creation story about how Lord Vishnu created the universe, how Lord Vishnu created the reality that we live in, which is really to say that Lord Vishnu is dreaming our reality. And so we are, for instance, me, you, the school, the internet, is all part of Lord Vishnu's dream. Right? So it all comes into existence because God, the divine, is dreaming reality. Now, that's a metaphorical story for how each of us creates reality. And the techniques of Yoga Nidra have been designed to bring us into a state of consciousness in which we become a conscious creator. And by being a conscious creator, we're able to create our own experience of reality, which means that we can transform ourselves from being ill to being healthy, physically and emotionally. And yes, you can also use this for more mundane purposes, and you could use it for mastering the physical world and living successfully in the physical world. And you could certainly use it to build a successful practice and to create reality that you want to experience. But that's where its origins go. They go all the way back to the Puranas, and then they're talked about in the Advaita Vedanta texts, Yoga Tadavali. And during the course, we go through this in a lot more detail. And we'll also look at the many different teachers who have been teaching it, both in the past and also various techniques that are being taught today, as well as the technique that I teach, which you can experience on my CD. All right, another question is, in Yoga Nidra, can one take one particular body part, make sankalpa to heal it, release it in the deep state, and see healing results? Yes, that's exactly what we do. You can work with a specific problem in your body, and you can establish a sankalpa to heal that. I will teach you how to bring your awareness into that part of your body, examine that part of your body on a microscopic level, and work with the flow of energy into those tissues, and then see that part of your body being healed. And indeed, that is how you stimulate your body's capability to heal yourself. And it's not that Yoga Nidra heals you, it's that your body has the capacity to heal you. Nature has the capacity to heal you. And what Yoga Nidra is doing is activating this part of nature, this part of your body. Another question is there a good time to do Yoga Nidra, or is it okay to do it anytime? It's fine to do it anytime. It's fine to do it anytime. There are no rules about when to do Yoga Nidra. Some people, if you do it at night, you might fall asleep. And it has been said that the greatest danger of Yoga Nidra is falling asleep. That's the greatest danger of Yoga Nidra. And if you do it at night before you go to bed and you're in bed doing it, you might fall asleep. Now, if you have insomnia, you might not mind that. Right? Some people do fall asleep who have insomnia doing this practice. And, well, they weren't practicing Yoga Nidra, but they did go to sleep, and they're still really happy about that. All right. You said you practiced Yoga Nidra 3 times daily. How long are your sessions? Well, I did practice it 3 times daily between 1987 and 1994, when I was in the intensive healing process from having been crippled by this Lyme-type disease. Now, since that time, it's probably once a day, and sometimes it's not every day. Sometimes I do it 3 or 4 times a week. When I do it for about today anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. When I was doing it during having been crippled, it was anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. And that's the typical practice, is 45 minutes to an hour. And if you listen to the CD, it's about a 45-minute practice that will take you through. And so that's how long I was practicing it. Now, if you do want to learn more and you do want to become a certified CCA Yoga Nidra teacher, then we have classes that are coming up, and one of them will be coming up very soon in Nevada City here at the college. And it's September 27th to September 30th, and you can go online or call the college to learn more about it. I'll also be teaching at the Integral Yoga Society Center in San Francisco, and that'll be March 14th through March 17th. You can take the course there if you wanted to. Or in the Bahamas, every year I teach in the Bahamas, and I teach at the Shivananda Yoga Retreat, and we'll be doing that March 26th to March 31st next year. So those are the upcoming certification courses. And during those courses, you go deep into the philosophy, the history, the mythology, as well as the practice. And you will be practicing and teaching while you're there. You will learn to teach. And from the moment you leave, you will be ready to teach to the public. Whether you want to bring it into a yoga studio, or you want to bring it into a hospice environment, or you want to bring it into a military environment. Many people are doing that today. You'll be prepared to bring it into any environment. And for the first time now, starting with the September class, we're attaching an additional day onto the workshop. And my partner, both in life and in teaching, Dr. Andrea Dierhart, who specializes in working with patients at the end of their life, will be doing a special one-day addition to the course where you'll learn how to specifically work with the end-of-life population, which will prepare you better for being in that environment, working with hospice or working with other private organizations that are supporting people through the end-of-life transition. So there'll be a one-day add-on for those of you that want to do that. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to listen, the time to learn about Yoga Nidra. I truly believe that this is the most important self-healing technique that I know of. Many of you, of course, know about my relationship to Ayurveda. And I see Ayurveda as the process of rebuilding your entire body. I see Yoga Nidra as a process of working with the elements of the universe to support you. And by Yoga Nidra, the practice of Yoga Nidra and the practice of Ayurveda, through these two practices, this is how I was able to heal myself. This is why I've dedicated my entire life to both Yoga Nidra and to Ayurveda. Many blessings to all of you as you go out into the world. May you be well. May your healing journey be successful, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, peace, peace. Namaste. Many blessings.